1 1 2 1 1 2. Check sound 1 2 1. मुझे अपनी शरण में ले लो राम, ले लो राम। मुझे अपनी शरण में ले लो राम। लोचन मन में लगे रहो, लोचन मन में लगे रहो तो युगल शरण में जीवन दे नाम दिखाया, माया नाच नखाया, नाच नखाया। चिंता में कभी तेरी, चिंता में कभी तेरी, जब चिंतन मेरे पास पूरे की पूंजी, मेरे पास पूरे की पूंजी, पर पूजन हरि राम मिलन कब हो, आदि सवाला गिरे। बोले श्री गजानंद स्वामी की जय, वृंदावन कृष्ण चंद्र की जय, बोलो भाई सब संतन की जय, आदि शक्ति दुर्गा माता की जय, श्री आर्यव पितृदेव भगवान की जय। On behalf of Prabhuji, Auntie Mataji, welcome to this evening satsang. We are in the auspicious time known as the Pitri Paksh. And a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about this period. Pitri Paksh starts at the beginning of the month of Ashwin, in the first fortnight, which is the first 15 days, in Vedanta. It begins just after the end of the Ganesh Utsav. And when the Ganesh Utsav ends, Pitri Paksh begins. How does this correlate? How does the festivals that we observe correlate to each other? So it is said that the energies of Yam, and we know who is Yam, right? Who is Yam? Laura? Okay. The energies of Yam is very strong, beginning at the Guru Purnima, straight on until the Makar Sankranti Mahashivratri period of the following week. This is called Chaturmas, 4 lunar months in which the energies of Yam is stronger, is ruling. That's why in the later half of the year we see so much calamities, so much difficulties, so much deaths and so on. Because the energies of Yam are strong. And from the Guru Purnima, the scriptures have given us the means by which we can find protection, we can find solace, we can find encouragement, we can find spiritual strength throughout this Chaturmas, beginning from Guru Purnima, where we worship the Guru, where we go for enlightenment from the Gurus, right, on Guru Purnima. And then Guru will lead us to Krishna, Bhagavan Krishna. And through Bhagavan Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, we get jnana, knowledge. So from Guru Purnima, we go straight on to the Krishna Janmashtami. Then from Krishna Janmashtami, we go into Ganesh Utsav. So from Guru, we get enlightenment. From enlightenment, we realize Krishna, we become Krishna conscious. From Krishna consciousness, we go and we propitiate Bhagavan Ganesh. We celebrate his birthday on the Chaturthi, the child. But unlike every one of us, we celebrate our birthdays how many days, boy? Mataji, when you celebrate your birthday, how many days you celebrate your birthday? 1 day, right? On your birthday, birth anniversary. But in Ganesh itself, we celebrate the birthday of Ganesh for 11 days. That's why we call it Utsav. Utsav means celebration. The literal meaning of the term Utsav means to celebrate. So celebration, Ganesh, Bhagwan's birth or coming for over 11 days. And during this Ganesh Utsav, in the Chaturdasi, he has given us the opportunity to worship him in the form of this clay murti. And in this worship, we get the opportunity to lay all our problems and difficulties and sins and obstacles that in our lives, we put it in front of Ganesh Bhagavan. We lay it at his feet and we say, Bhagavan, you take all our problems away. You take all our sins away, all our path away, all our obstacles that is in front of us. Everything we lay at your feet, Prabhu. And at the end of the 11 days, when we dissolve the murti in the water, I want to stress on the word dissolve, not dump, as we have seen many places, where people just take huge murtis and dump it in the water. That's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to dissolve the murti. Melt it. Bhagavan Ganesh, we are saying that when we dissolve the murti, may all our problems will disappear. Put out your feet. May that be dissolved. May that be done away with. In this Ganesh Utsav period, when we put the murti back in the water, it's not that we are saying goodbye to Ganesh. We are not saying, Bhagavan, you are going away. No. It is that we are asking Bhagavan that we dissolve the murti, so to please dissolve our path, dissolve our problems, dissolve our obstacles, our sins. So when we have done this, we have dissolved the murti of Ganesh Bhagavan. We have dissolved away all our path. We have literally cleansed ourselves. Because when we go into the water with Ganesh murti, we are supposed to cleanse ourselves. And when we cleanse ourselves, we then prepare for the worship of our Pitrus. Pitripaksh. Pitripaksh is not a time when a lot of people used to say long time, Mataji. Remember people saying long time that it is the fourth time when Yamraj will open the gate and all the Pitras will come and visit. You ever hear long time people saying that? They used to tell us that the ancestors will come and visit us for that 14, 15-day period. And they used to tell us that you must not stay out after dark. You must come in, always find yourself home before sunset. And you must do this and you must do that. Right? Furthest from the truth. Yamraj doesn't have a corral, a steeple that he, or a jail that he holding everybody in. For 15 days he will let you go free to visit your children. So that is not true. When the soul leaves the body and begins its journey in the world of yam, there is no coming back until that 1 year when you have to take rebirth, according to your karma and according to your dharma. But those are the two qualities that go with us when we leave this world. Nothing else. Everything else that we have in this world, we leave behind. Only our karma and our dharma follows us. And you know what the karma is, right? The actions that we perform. You know what the dharma is? Dharma is not religion. Dharma is not whether you are Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Baha'i, or whatever. Dharma is the way you live. Dharma refers to the conduct of your life, how you live. That has nothing to do with religion. So a Hindu alone cannot get heaven. A Christian alone cannot get heaven. A Muslim alone cannot get heaven. Has nothing to do with your religion. It has to do with how you live. If you are an atheist, you know who is an atheist? Somebody who doesn't believe in religion, who don't practice any rituals to God, who don't even recognize God as existing. An atheist. Even if an atheist lived a good life, he lived a good dharmic life. So dharma has nothing to do with religious beliefs. Our scriptures does not mention Hinduism nowhere. In none of our scriptures is it mentioned that you have to be a Hindu to be able to practice the scriptures. Or Sanatan Dharma is not a religion. Sanatan Dharma means the way of life. A dharmic, a righteous way of conduct, a righteous way of life. Dharma refers to righteous conduct. Has nothing to do with whether you're Hindu, Christian, Muslim, or anything else. So don't think that for one moment that when we have satsang and the scriptures are being read, it is only meant for Hindus. Has no bearing that it is only for Hindus. You understand? So the two qualities that follows us from birth to birth is our karma and our dharma. Our karma is the actions that we commit, good and bad, and our dharma is the way we conduct our lives in this world. So in the Pitri Paksh period, it is the time when we give thanks. We give remembrance to our Pitras, to our ancestors. And by remembering them, we give dan during this period of time. Annadan. Annadan means food. We give food. We give all different kind of dan. Sona dan, gold. We give Gita dan. We give cow dan if we can afford. But the operative word is dan. Dan means charity. Dan means gifts. Dan is not payment. You're not paying anybody. It is gifts, charity. And you're giving this dan, and what do we say when we offer this dan? Oh, Sri Krishna Arpana. We give it in the name of Sri Krishna. So we are not giving the dan to the Pitras. We are not giving the dan to the ancestors. We are not feeding dead people. But we are giving everything to Bhagavan Krishna in behalf or on behalf or in memory of our departed. The first person to observe this 15-day period was Karna. You know what's Karna? Huh? Avina? Karna was one of the Pandava brothers. But Karna was not recognized as a Pandava in Mahabharata. He was recognized as aligned to the Kauravas, because he fought on behalf of the Kauravas. But Karna was one of the sons of Kunti. Right? Karna was known as Danveer. Danveer means that one who was always charitable. Everything he had, he would give it away in charity. Very easily. He will never refuse anything. Danveer. And when Karna died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, in the Pandava-Kaurava war in Mahabharata, and Karna's soul went in the world of Yam, he heard the cries of his ancestors from below, and he recognized them because they were calling out to him. And he questioned Yamraj. He said, Bhagwan, how is it that my ancestors are suffering? How is it that my ancestors are in the place where they are suffering, when I would have given so much dhan in their name, I would have given so much in their memory when I was on the earth, and yet they are suffering? Why? And Dharmaraj told Karna, he said, you are Dhanveer, you give plenty, but the one thing you never give food. You give gold, you give elephants, you give horses, you give land, you give kingdoms, you give everything. But you never give food. And because you never give food, your pitras, they are hungry. And he begged for the opportunity to go back on the earth for 1 fortnight so that he can give dhan of food. And this was the opportunity that he got during the month of Ashwin, in the dark hour, where he came and he gave dhan of food. This is why in the Pitripad we are told that we must give food. You know, we are sitting to that, we have to take out food. But you're taking out food for who? Who are you feeding? Avinash, who you fed today? Who did you feed today? Who you took out the food for?
Lord Krishna, the dog, the insects, the this, the that.
Lord Krishna, the dog, the insect, the this, the that. I say it how we say it, right? We took out the food to give to the elements. We took out the food to give to Bhagwan Krishna. The Panchatattva, the 5 elements. Right? So the 5 elements have their spirit being. So we say the ants represents fire. The fishes, the element of water. The birds, the element of air. The fire, the element of fire. Right? The cow, the element of earth. And we put one in the open place. Right? We give it to the dog, which represents the element of space, fire, air, ether, earth, and water. The 5 elements. And then we give to Krishna. Right? Some people think that the one meal that we are offering it to the Pitras, but we are offering it to Krishna on behalf of the Pitras, in memory of them. And our prayer is that wherever they may have taken birth or rebirth, according to their karma, may they be able to benefit from the blessings of this offering. You all understand? So everybody thinks that we're taking out food, we're taking out food. We loosely use this term, right? We're taking out food today. But for whom? And why? So Karna got the opportunity during this 15-day period, known as Pithipat, to offer the gift of food. How do we get blessing of this gift of food? By feeding who? People. That's why we call it feast, Bandara. Bandara means feast. Bandara does not refer to how much dishes you make in. Bandara refers to how much food you feed. So when you have a bandara, you could have 2 dish, 3 dish, 4 dish, but feed 20 people. Not 21 and 32 dish and you feed 4 people. That is not bandara. Bandara is when you have food that you can feed in mass. Anybody that comes must be able to eat. And that's how you get the blessing of the Annadan. The Annadan means the gift of food. Anna means food. When you give Annadan, you get the blessing. And there is no greater blessing than quenching somebody's thirst or hunger. You all agree? No greater blessing. So in Pithipat, we are blessed with this opportunity. Why do we give remembrance to our ancestors? Everything that we have here today is because of their blessings. The luxuries that we enjoy today is because of their blessings. You may think that you work for it, but if they didn't have struggles and toils and sacrifices, today we wouldn't have even had the opportunity to have a work. Far less to achieve it. It is because of their blessings. When our ancestors left India, they came over the Kalapani, as we say, the Black Ocean, right? The Black Waters. And they came to an unknown land. And they came and they met everything to start all over again, from scratch. They had the option to go back to India. And many of them decided to stay here and continue these struggles. And today we are benefiting from all of their struggles. That's why we have what we have today. That's why we have our dharma. That's why we have our culture. That's why we have our traditions. That's why we have our riches. What is our riches? Our children. Our children are the riches. Our forefathers used to say the only riches is their children. Long time we used to have plenty of children. Because they knew that the children was the greatest wealth. Because when they get old and they could no longer do anything for themselves, they depended on their children to be their hands and their that, oh child, you are my sun and you are my moon, and through your actions, my name will live on and my name will shine in you. Mera naam terera jag mein mera raj tumhara. My name will shine in this jag mein mera raj dulara, through you, my raj dulara, my dulara, my bliss, my child. So we are the legacy of our forefathers. Our forefathers are being praised by our action in this world. Our forefathers are suffering from ill fame and name because of our bad actions in this world. Everything we do, good or bad, reflects on our past. Today we hear about science talking about DNA. You hear that? DNA? Huh? DNA refers to the genealogy that exists in every one of us, that is a part of our foreparents. Through DNA we can track back as to who our father was, who our grandfather was, who our great-grandfather was. DNA. Right? Loosely, locally, local balance, we say we have the father blood in us. We have the blood of our fathers with us, or grandfather blood. Eh? Right? But it comes on back to the scientific term, DNA. It is the molecular component that exists in every one of us. The cell component that exists in every one of us that can find its bearing through generations that pass. And this tells us literally that our forefathers are living through us still. In Sanatana Dharma, we say that nobody really dies. Only body dies. Atma continues to live. Jiva continues to live. That's it, isn't it? So death only occurs for this sharir, this body. The jiva continues to be existing beyond this body. Our jiva is energy. We are energy personified. We are pure energy. We don't have a body. We borrow this body. God loaned us this body according to our karma so that we can what? Grow and become closer to Him. Manush means this human world. Barit Bhagya. Barit Bhagya means most auspicious of all beings is the human being. Most auspicious, Barit Bhagya, most auspicious of all beings is the human being. Why? Saradharma moksha karadvara. This human birth is the doorway by which we can give moksha to this jiva. Through this human birth we can liberate the soul. We get the opportunity to find liberation in this human birth. This body is the opportunity, the dwara, the doorway that we'll be able to cross from human existence to spiritual liberation. But if we misuse this opportunity, then we will trap ourselves to the cycle of birth and death. We entrap ourselves in the cycle of birth and death because of our attachment to this world. You know? It is said that one, at the time of your death, what your last thought is determines what will become with you. What is your next breath? If you die thinking about worldly pleasures, then you will come back to enjoy worldly pleasures. If you die thinking about Bhagavan, you will certainly go to Bhagavan. The scripture says. So what happens to us? When our time of death comes, we are supposed to think about Bhagavan. Huh? But what do we think of? Do we think about Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Do we think about it? No. We call the children and we think about who get in the house, who get in the car, who get in the jewelry, who get in the sari, who get in the bangles, who get in the... At the time of death, we think about the physical things, the physical world that we enjoy. We attach ourselves so much that we think about it. At the time of death, when we reach the age when we are supposed to become sannyas, so you know there's the 4 ashrams of life, right? Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and sannyas. You all know this, right? Brahmachari is the stage when we are students, when we become learned in the scriptures, we become learned in the world, we become educated. Grihastha is when we take married life, we become married and we have children and we take the householder stage. Vanaprastha is when we become semi-renunciated, when we start to give up the things that we enjoy in this world little by little and become less attached to the world. And sannyas is when we renounce the world altogether and we attach ourselves to Bhagavan. But instead, when we reach the age when we are supposed to become sannyas, that's when we become more attached to the world. Now we're thinking about grandchildren, we're thinking about great-grand, we're thinking about house. Some of you in this last stage in life when you're starting to buy a new car. I want to enjoy my retirement. I'm going to Nas or a cruise. I'm going to this. You understand? When we're supposed to now turn ourselves to becoming more God conscious, more disciplined, spiritually, now we want to enjoy it more. Isn't it? Now we're fighting one another. People die in their old age fighting one another for property from their parents. I'm sure you know people like that. In their old age, you still have enmity between siblings. Very sad. Very sad. But Bhagavan, we spend all our lives looking for Bhagavan. And there's one line I always like to sing, you know. You probably get tired of me singing it every time I come here, but I'll sing it anyway. And you know this line that says, Moko kaham te bande mein to tere paas. Moko kaham te bande mein to tere paas. Oh my dear child, Bhagavan is telling us, asking, Where are you looking for me? Where do you think you're going to find me, beta? Oh child, where are you looking for God? Natiratame namatirame nakashi kailash. I am not in Kashi. I am not in Kailash. I am not in the Tirat, the places of pilgrimage. Natiratame namatirame. I am not in the mandirs. Right? Where will be in a mandir? And I am telling you, Bhagavan is saying I am not here. Name Devar, Name Masjid, Dunya ka sang. You will only recognize me when you renounce the world. Dunya means the world. Ka sanyas means to renounce the dunya, the world. So how do we renounce the world in this age of Kali? Do we leave everything behind? And we go and we set up shop in a forest and lie in the forest, jump away the name of God until we die. Is that sannyas? In the age of Kali, sannyas refers to renunciation. Renunciation how? You learn how to live in the world but do not become attached to it. Learn how to live in this world but do not become attached to it. Mataji, enjoy all that God has provided. But know that one day you have to be with it. It is not about. Do not become attached. Do not become attached to the clothes and the jewelry, everything, because one day, even that you will leave. Nothing goes with us. Nothing goes with us. This mandir, Mataji, you will leave this one day. All the luxuries that you own and that you have worked hard in this world to keep, Uncle Ji, you will leave this one day. Are we living in this type of detachment? Are we living in this type of detachment, or are we more attached than ever to what we have? Oh, I love my car. I love my clothes. I love my harmonium. One might say I love my harmonium more than I love anybody else. Panditji, Roma tonight, Panditji will channel. So is you fortunate and Baba will put him there. And so all schoolmates, we went to school together. After 40-something years, we're still together. So I consider myself fortunate. But we are attached to so many things, but how much are we detached? Are we making effort to become detached? Dunya ka sannyas. Learn to become detached from the dunya, from the world. And there you will find God in your detachment. You find God in the detachment. You know? This body has the indriyas, senses. And these senses are like the ratha, the chariot, that we are supposed to ride upon. We are the passenger. Who is the chariot? Arjuna was the passenger in the chariot. Who was the charioteer? Who was the charioteer? Who was driving the chariot of Arjuna in the war? Anybody can tell me? Who sat and spoke to Arjuna and gave Arjuna the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavan Krishna. Bhagavan Krishna was the charioteer. Arjuna was the passenger, and the chariot is the body. This chariot, the here, Tavame Indriya Napahiya, this body, the chariot and the horses that are driving the chariot is the senses, the Indriyas. But who is driving this chariot? Are you driving your own chariot, or have you given this chariot to Bhagavan? Are you allowing Bhagavan to steer the course of your life? Or are you driving your own life? Are you setting your own course? Good question, isn't it? In bhajan, we get lessons. अरे भाव के पंथ चले. Only with your bhav. With bhav. What is bhav? Bhavana. Bhav. Pandaji. Devotion. Belief. With your belief, with your devotion, with your bhakti, then you will be able to take the control, allow Bhagavan to take control of the child. Then you will bhavake pantha chale. You will travel in a good direction. Papani shimi jivan India. India means the eyes. If this eyes is only filled with sinful things, if we are always filled with looking at only the bad things in this world, the sinful things in this world, Papa Nishimi Jivan and India, this Jivan means the life force, will not be able to see God if we are looking for things that are bad. If we are looking only for sins, we can't see God. Train the eyes to look for God. Don't train the eyes to look for the faults anywhere. Do not train the eyes on the faults of the world, but train the eyes on the good things in the world. Train the eyes to see the godlike things in the world. Don't train the eyes to look at the ugly side of people. Train the eyes to look at the godly side of people. Hare bhajan ke bhoravaye. Bhajana means to chant the name of Bhagavan. If you continuously chant the name of Bhagavan, you will be able to liberate this jiva, this life. Jagrita swapna shushupti turaiya. These are the four stages of consciousness. Jagrit means the waking stage. Jagrit is swapna. Swapna means the dream state. Sushupti means deep sleep. Turaya avasar means the awakening or the realization of the oneness between the Atma and the Paramatma. Turaya. When you realize that connection, when you make that connection. So these are the four stages of consciousness that we have. Jagrit, Swapna, Sushupti, Turaya. Turaya is permanent state. Turaya avasar. Turaya is the permanent state where we recognize our oneness with Bhagavan. That's how we get. You ever hear the term Jivan Mukh? When one is liberated in this body, you find liberation while in this body. How do you find the liberation while in this body? By realizing your oneness with Bhagavan. Turaya. Jagrit, Swapna, Sushupti, these are all three states that are temporary. Waking states temporary, dream states temporary, sleep temporary. We can't sleep forever, we can't wake forever, and we can't dream forever. Yet this temporary state, we feel that it is the most realistic things that there is. Waking, what we see in front of us, we say that's real. We're dreaming and we get up with emotions because we get affected by the dreams. You ever dream something and you get up feeling the emotions of the dream? These are temporary things. Why I'm saying temporary? Because it only lasts a little time. This world is temporary, isn't it? Everything in this world has an expiry date. Everything in this world has a manufacture date. We have a born and a death. We have a made, this date expires this date. The chairs have an expiry date. It's not meant to last forever. The clothes that you wear has expiry date. It's not meant to last forever. You know? They will teach it will not have an expiry date. Sometimes it has to be before you. And actually, my sister and her daughter came by me Thursday, and my little niece is saying, well, she has a little niece. She's a little girl, but she has elder sister has a daughter. So she said the baby getting teeth and I'm losing teeth. I said, don't worry, yours will do that. But some of us, when we lose, we do ever do that. And that's true. That has expiry. So we have to learn that everything in this world is unreal. It is temporary. Everything that is temporary is Maya, illusionary. Maya is that which is there for only a short period of time. Everything. What is consistent? What is the real thing? What is consistent? The only constant is the constant that exists between the Jiva Atma and the Paramatma. What is that constant? Mano vi ahankar chitadina na shotra na jihave na grahana na nendre na chavyo mabhumi na tejo na vayu chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. I am not this buddhi, I am not the intellect. Mano buddhi ahankar, I am not the ego. Chitani naham, na sutra, na jinave, na grana, na netre. I am not the senses, I am not all these physical attributes. What am I? Chitananda Rupa. Chitananda Rupa. I am Chit. What is Chit? Chit is consciousness. Chit is conscious self. I am in Chit. Chit Ananda. Ananda means bliss. I am blissful. I am a blissful being. Chit Ananda. Rupa. This is my form. Shivoham, Shivoham. I am the Shiva. I am Shiva. We are all the Shiva consciousness. What does the word Shiva means? Shiva means auspicious. We are auspicious beings. When we say Chidananda Rupam Shivoham, Shivoham, we say I am the Shiva, I am the Shiva. I am not the Shiva that we worship in a murti. That's Bhagavan. I am the Shiva, I am the Shiva consciousness, I am the auspicious being that resides in this world. You understand? I am not this physical being, I am the Shiva. Chitananda Rupam, Shivoham, Shivoham. When we sing and we say, Bhagavan, you run away with our consciousness. You steal our consciousness. Chittachura, Yashoda, Diva. Gopal, Krishna, you are the son of Yashoda. Chittachura, Yashoda, you are the one who will steal our consciousness. Steal away our hearts and our consciousness, our minds, our everything. Steal that away from us. Let us sing. Chittachura, Yashoda, Diva. Navanita Choda Gopal. Navanita Choda Gopal. Gopal, Gopal, So Krishna, Chura Yeshura ki baat. The one who will steal away our chitta consciousness. This is the Krishna we pray to during the time of the Touch. This is the Krishna we worship. The one who will steal our consciousness from us. When we talk about Krishna dancing the Ras Leela with the gopis, and we talk about 33 crore devta, 33 crore devta, 3,000 devtas. So, how is it that our Sanatana Dharma has so much devtas? 3,000 devtas, 33 crore devta. Hey, so much we have to provide. 3,000 के devtas. क्या बात है? What is the 33 crore devta? There are 3,000 hair follicles in this body. Each hair follicle is one nerve ending. So there are 3,000 nerve endings in this body. That's how we have the sense of touch. Right? 3,000 hair follicles. I'm telling you how scientific Sanatana Dharma is. Avinash, if you don't believe me, when you go home, start checking and see if you find the 3,000 hair follicles. No way you start, right? So you will get confirmation. 33 crore devta. The 3,000 devtas lives in this body. Why do they live in this body? Because this body is Tumhi mere mandir, Tumhi mere puja. This is my first mandir. This is my first place of worship. Tumhi mere puja. Tumhi devta hu, the devtas reside here. And when we treat this mandir, that's how we get ill, that's how we get sick. Because this mandir is meant to be treated like a mandir. But if we make this mandir into a sutak place, an impure place, then how can we enjoy the breath? Am I making sense? Tell me if I'm not making sense. I just have to go to put that in the bag and Tumhi mere mandir. My first place of worship is in this mandir. That's why in our Sanatana Dharma we are taught that our position to pray is how? Clasp our hands before our hearts, bow our heads, and close our eyes. When we close our eyes, where do we look? Where do we look? Inside. And inside we will find Bhagavan. Uncle Ji? Uncle Adibab? Isn't that true? When we close our eyes, we find God inside of us. We look and we see God in us. Why? God can only be seen when He exists. If God does not exist in this body, we will not be able to visualize God. So Bhagavan can only be seen when He exists. Therefore, God exists inside of us. We don't need to be in a mandir. We don't need to look at a murti. We can close our eyes and bring the image of Bhagavan into our minds and see God inside our mind's eye, with our mind's eye, and worship that God, because this is first mandir. When we reach the stage of that realization, then we will understand what Turaya means. And like I told you, Jagrit, Swapna, Shushupti, Turaya, The Tureya Pasad is when we realize the oneness between the G-O-D and our inner being. When we recognize that. Because God resides inside of everybody. And that's why when we greet each other and we say Jai Sri Sitara, Sitara, and we bow our heads and we put our hands together, we are not just doing that because it's a gesture. We are saying, I bow to the Sita and Ram that exists inside of you. We recognize the God that exists inside of each other, and that's why we give obeisance. Because God resides inside of everyone. So, in this period, I'm just going to read in English chapter 14 of Guru Quran. And chapter 14 of Guru Quran tells us what is the rites that must be observed when someone is near to die, to the stage of death. Right? Very quickly. And this is a conversation that is taking place between Bhagavan Vishnu and his Vahan. Who is his Vahan? Garud. Who was Garud? Avinash? Who was Garud? Kya baat hai? But you tell me to read Guru Quran. Garud is the Vahan or the vehicle that is the transport of Bhagavan Vishnu. Garud is an eagle. Right? And Garud is having a conversation with Bhagavan Vishnu, asking about all of these knowledge, about the rights of those who depart in this world, what should be done, what is necessary. And Bhagavan Vishnu is telling us. This is why when you look at the rites that is being done in a Sanatanist rites and rituals, it is based on the Garuda. Right? We are not bright enough to change those rules, although there are some who like to change it. Right? Maya? So, that's it. Bhagavan is saying, Guru is now telling the Lord, please tell me, O Lord, of the rites for the dying. Right? The Blessed Lord said, listen, O Takshaya. Takshaya is one of the names of Guru. Takshaya. Takshaya. And I will explain the rites for one leaving the body, and by what rites men after death reach a good condition. When by the effects of your karma, the embodied leaves this ordinary body. The embodied means the soul that is in the body. When it leaves this body, then near to a holy basil or tulsi tree, one should make a ring with powder on the floor. Next, having scattered black tail, sesame seeds, he should take a darba grass or the kush grass and then have a shaligram placed on the clean platform. The clean platform means the place that you have now lipe with the goba. You get that shaligram. Having scattered the till and
placing the kush grass, then place the shaligram. The liberation for that being who dies near the shaligram is guaranteed, is surety, just by dying in the same place where the shaligram resides. That's why it is said that when somebody is near death, he must get three things: a tulsi, a shaligram, and a Vishnu Krishnamurti. And when that person dies in precincts of those three items, the soul will be liberated. You're able to assist that soul in relieving itself to go to a higher place. Liberation is certain for the being who dies near the shaligram, which removes all ills and sins. Dying just in the place where the shaligram is will eradicate all your sins. It's like a cleanser that will take away all your powerful. Where the shade of the holy Tulsi tree, which removes the pain of being, of dying, there is always liberation for that person in the stage where they are about to leave, by just being in a place under the shade of the Tulsi tree. The pain of death becomes painless. The house in which the Tulsi tree is enshrined is like a holy bathing place. The servants of Yam do not come to that house. So you know why Hindus always try to keep a Tulsi tree? When we keep a Tulsi tree in the precincts of our home, it is said that we protect the home from the servants of Yam. When the Tulsi tree is existing here, only the servants of Bhagavan Vishnu will come. Right? So we protect ourselves, we protect our families. Yama is not able to see that person who gives up his life while having the Tulsi, though they may have hundreds of sins. Not even the servants of Dharmaraj will be able to take them. The man who dies with the leaf of the Tulsi in his mouth upon a seed of sesame seeds, the til, and the kush grass goes to the city of Vishnu unfeelingly. Where's the city of Vishnu? How do you call the place of Vishnu? No. Huh? Vaikuntha. The kush grass and the til and the holy Tulsi are three holy things that they will prevent an ailing man from going to the miserable condition of the Yamloka. Because of the black tail, because the black tail is produced from the sweat of Bhagavan Vishnu. The black tail is performed, the till is produced from the sweat of Bhagavan Vishnu. Hence the Asuras and the Danavas and Daityas, they run away from this black tail. They run away from the till. That's why we are told that when you want to ward away any negative energies from your place, you sprinkle some black tail around your place. You ever hear the older people tell you that? Uncle, you ever hear people say that? When you want to ward away negative energy from your place, you take black tail and sprinkle it around your place. What did you? You know that, right? It says, the kush grass, O Taksha, are produced from my hair. The kush grass comes from the hair of Lord Vishnu. And the mere touch of this plant, this kush, will liberate one's soul. What is the kush? Anybody can describe the kush grass? You do strike this morning, right? You use this guy? How will it do? A long blade, a cutlass, sword. In Trinidad, we do not have the actual push grass. The closest relative to the push grass that we have in Trinidad is what we call the tapia or the needle grass, the bush grass. Right? But a lot of people use another grass we call the metibe. But the metibe, the root of the metibe is used to extract the oils from that root to make what we call the push essence, coffee. The oils from the metibe grass produce the push. But the pusha is the needle grass, or what we used to call long time the horse grass, tapia grass. Right? Brahma is seated at the root of the kusha. In the middle of the kusha, Krishna, Janardhana, and at the tip of the kusha, Shankar, Bhagwan Shankar. He sits at the tip of it. So Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankar, all three reside. One on the root, one in the center, and one at the tip. Hence, it is said that sitting on the push grass will provide it provides the relief from negative energies. If you want to do yoga, if you want to do penance, you want to do meditation, you make a mat from the push grass and you sit on that mat. No negative energies will come to you. You will be able to perform your job and meditation uninterrupted. The push grass. When you build in a bidi, you always put a few pieces of push grass underneath the dirt or underneath the bidi, so that the bidi becomes sanctified and negative energies can sit on that bidi. That's why we put the push grass under the casket, so that when we put the push grass on the ground where the casket sits, no negative energies will be able to come and interfere with that body that lies there. We don't put the push for tradition. It has a reason for that. That's why when we put the plant push and we put the pinda and we put all the offerings for the departed for the 10 days, we put it to the root of the push grass, because the root of the push grass, the pusha, provides protection from negative energies interfering with the offerings of the pinda. That's the purpose of the push. Right? Continues. One should lay the dying man on the ground cleaned with the gobar, spread over with the push grass, not support him in the air. So we must put him on the ground, not suspend him in the air. So if we can, we put the person who is near death on the ground for the last moments. You understand? Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, all the shining ones, and sacrificial fire stand upon the ring. Therefore, should one make a ring, right? Meaning the gobar, to make it, to encircle the person's body, like a ring. You must be in the center of that. Right? It is said that all negative forces Rakshasas, Bhut, Pret, Pisach, and the followers of Yam enter an impure place, and they enter on the cot above the ground. So if you have the body on a bed, they are able to interfere with that person. But if they are on the ground, on the bush grass, on the black till, on the gobar, they cannot interfere. The negative energies cannot interfere with the body of this person. Hence, without this place being prepared, one should not perform the oblations to the fire, the shroud, and the feeding of the Brahmins, and the worship of the holy ones, nor place the dying man upon the ground. So even in the dying moments, if you can give worship to the Brahmins, if you can give food to the Brahmins, if that person can touch a siddha, a dan, and give to the Brahmins in his last moment, he will be able to liberate himself. You understand? So there are many who will call me and say, this person is near death, what to do? So right, get tulsi dal, tulsi, water, give, and at least make up a little siddha, put a little bit of salt, some black pillar thing in the siddha, and let it touch the siddha, give it to somebody, give it to the guru of the guru or the college of the guru. So at least he would have been able to give down before they died. Yes, sir. This will benefit them. Right? Placing him on the ground, on a clean ground, one should put gold and jewels upon his lips and give him the water of the feet of Vishnu in the form of the shaligram. So it is always auspicious to offer water upon the shaligram, and this water you can drink. This becomes the Charana Amrit that has come from the feet of Vishnu. Right? He who drinks even a drop of the water that has come from the shaligram stone is absolved of all sins and goes to the residence of Vaikuntha. Right? Then one should give him the water of the Ganges, which is the purifier of all sins, and gives food to merit equal to bathings and gifts at all of the sacred waters. So, it is said that when you drink a little drop of Ganges water, it is equivalent to bathing in Ganges. How is this possible? How are we going to do that? We in Trinidad. Where are you going to get Gangajal? You're going to go to the store and buy Gangajal in a bottle? Are you sure that you're bringing that from Ganga? Huh? Are you certainly sure that the water that you see marked Gangajal in the little store actually coming from Ganga? How many of you are sure about it? How many of you have doubts about it? Huh? How many of you have doubts about it? Have you ever questioned that, Uncle? Do you think that water actually coming from Ganga? Or do you think somebody bottling it and labeling it and selling it? Huh? Everybody buying blue waters, right? Huh? I put in a seal for blue waters, right? Just put it up for it. Everybody buying blue waters, right? Huh? We say blue water is good water. So we are drinking pipe water, we are drinking blue water. But blue waters, taking Wasa water, passing through a filter, bottling it, and they send it to you. So why not buy a filter for your own pipe? Yeah, about it. Why pay blue waters millions of dollars for them water when you could put a filter in your own pipe? That might cost you a couple of $100. It's so much. Huh? Same pipe water going in their system. So imagine you pay for Wasa water twice.
That's what we do. So how do we get Ganga Jal in Sri Lanka? We hold the Ganga, we hold the water in our hands, and we look at the water, and we open it, and we allow the mantra to penetrate in the water. Do you know water accept? Water is a magnetic thing. Water is magnetic to sound. Sound energy enters water. So when you take water and you put it in your hand, that's why when we hold water in our hand to do sankalp, it is because the water expands the energy of the mantra, because water has the ability to expand. Have you ever looked at your reflection in a barrel of water? Huh? Well, these days nobody has barrel, they have tank. If you take a vessel of water and look at the reflection, how does it look? Bigger. It expands because water has the ability to expand. And when we take the sound vibration of mantras and we put it in the water becomes energized with the mantras. So when you're doing jap, doing jap, take a glass of water, put it near you, and recite the jap mantras. And after you drink that water becomes purified and energized with the mantra. So that water becomes energized. So you want Ganga Jal? Hold the water in your hand. Open it. Om Ganga Reva Piyoshani Narmada Jale Snapito Yasi Maya Deva Yatha Snanam Kushme Sri Gange Jale Snanam Smarpyami. You bring Ganga in that water with the mantra. That water becomes Ganga Jal. Do you have the faith in your mantras? That is how you get Ganga Jal. You want to bathe in the Ganga? Huh? Just call Ganga Maya when you go under the water, that is Ganga Jal. In the month of Kartik, when Kartiki Asnan comes and we go to bathe in the rivers and in the beaches and we do Ganga Puja, we sing on that day, Ganga resides in all the waters in the world. She resides in all the waters in the world all the time. Not just on that day. We have to do the mantra. We invoke the energies of Ganga through the mantra into the water. It says, he who drinks the water of the Ganges, heated by the rays of the sun, is freed from all goods and goes to the abode of Hari. So we always face the sun and we drink water. Let the sunlight take the water as we drink. First thing in the morning is good to do. It says, he who pours Ganga Maya while life is flickering in the throat goes when they die to the city of Vishnu. So imagine you drinking the water and you just call the name of Ganga. She appears in the water. She comes in the water. See what I'm telling you? The mantra. So you don't have to go and get somebody to go to India to bring Ganga Jal. You bring Ganga Jal for yourself. You make the Ganga Jal. He who in his last moments repeats the verse of, or half or quarter of a verse of Bhagavata, of Bhagavad Gita, never returns from the world of Brahman. So, we are told that you must give Gita Path. When is the appropriate time to do Gita Path? On the 13th day, when we do the Bandara, Krishna Puja? Or at the time when the person is near there? When is the most appropriate? at the time when the person is near death. Because the recitation of the Bhagavad Gita purifies them and they enter the world of Lord Vishnu. So that's why when people say they want a Gita path for a person who is near death, this is the purpose. To help them to release themselves and go to the place of the abode of Vaikuntha. So Gita path is not done just to help somebody die, but Gita path is done so that we can help them liberate themselves. Right? The repeating of the Vedas and the Upanishads, the chanting of the Vishnu and the Shiva, the names, brings liberation to the depth of the forecast. Brahmins, the Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, the Sudras, everybody gets liberation by being able to chant the name of God, by listening to the name of God. When somebody is dying, don't go and cry for them. Don't go and study again the jewel and the land and the this and the that. Go and chant the name of God. Go and chant the name of God at their head, at the Asia, so that they will be able to listen to the name of Krishna. You'll get liberation. What do we do? Because of our attachment to that person, we begin to cry, we begin to lament, we begin to grieve, we begin to do all sorts of things except chanting in the Lord. Isn't that true? At the time when the breath is leaving the body, he should make a fast. Dissatisfied with the worldly things and try the one who is twice born, the one who has been given Janin Sanskar. So, this refers to twice born, but twice born refers to the, because everybody does do Janin. Every caste have Janin Sanskar. But in Trinidad, only the Brahmins practice Janin. But every caste performs Janin Sanskar. How do you tell the function of Janin for each of the castes? In the way it's knots. How many knots is tied to each one of the Janin? But in Trinidad, for whatever reason, only the Brahmins say they alone must do Janin Sanskar. Which is not true. Everybody has the right to perform Janin Sanskar. That's the beginning of your brahmachari work. He who has renounced the world at this time and relinquishes his earthly belongings and only thinks about Vishnu, only thinks about Hari, is never born again on this world. We listen to the mind in Jatayu Katha when he told one who remembers God at the time of death will never be reborn in this world. It has been declared in the Ramayana. It has been declared in the scriptures. Guru Puran is telling us here. Bhagavan Vishnu is telling Guru that one who remembers to relinquish the earthly things and think about God at the time of death and chant his name even once will be able to get liberation. How simple is that? How simple is that, my friends? Sounds very simple, isn't it? Mataji? Very simple. I'll tell you how difficult it is. If you do not practice something regularly, you will never remember to do it. Practice makes what? Not perfect. Practice makes permanent. If you practice something, it will become permanent in your life. But if you don't practice something, you will forget to do it. If you do not practice every morning to get up early before the sunrise, you will never get up before the sunrise. If you do not practice to offer a lota of jal every morning, you will never do it automatically. You will have to remember to do it. Some people has only offer a lota of jal for Surya Dev when they have puja. And sometimes the Baba has to remind you to. You know that? If I go to do a puja, I just make sure I offer the jal, even if I have to do it right in front of me and by the way. Offer a lota of jal before me. Because do not offer Surya Jal, puja can never be complete. But if you do not practice it, it will not become a permanent fixture. So if you do not practice chanting the name of God, how can it become permanent? That when at the time of your death, you will remember to do it. Huh? How? How do you think that will be possible? If you do not practice, so you have to practice. How do you practice? By continuously chanting. By continuously chanting. To end, let us chant. As we end tonight's satsang, before we do our closing mantras, let us all chant a little bit.
प्यारे नंदलाल दर्शन दीजो
Pyare Nandalal, O my beloved Nandalal, please give me your darshan. Please allow me to see you with this physical eye. Let me see your beautiful form. Yashoda ki baal darshan dejo. You are the son of Yashoda. Please let me see you. Natabar lal darshan dejo. Oh, come and dance with me, Prabhu. Let me see you. Giridhara baal darshan.
प्यारे नंदलाल दर्शन दीजो प्यारे नंदलाल दर्शन दीजो प्यारे नंदलाल दर्शन दीजो प्यारे नंदलाल दर्शन दीजो यशोदा की मां दर्शन दीजो यशोदा की मां दर्शन दीजो यशोदा की बाल दर्शन दे दो, यशोदा की बाल दर्शन दे दो, करी रंजना यशोदा की बाल दर्शन दीजो, ओ प्यारी नंदलाल दर्शन दीजो। Can you visualize the baby Krishna? Can you visualize that Bala Krishna? And how he's climbing up on the stilts to reach the rafters where everybody, the gopis, they would take the kheer, not the kheer, but the makhan, and they will hang the makhan in the jars from the rafter. Why do you think they hang it in the rafter? Because Gopal and all his friends, they would not steal the makhan and they will eat of the makhan. So they tie it higher. But one day, Gopal and his friends, they made a pyramid. You know, in India, they still have this competition where the young ones, the boys, will make a pyramid to reach the makhan. You know, as a pastime of Krishna. So they made a human pyramid and Krishna will go on top and he will steal the makhan and give everybody makhan. And one day Yashoda Maya came and Yashoda Maya was ready to scold him for stealing the makhan, you know. Bhagavan Krishna looked at Yashoda Maya and said, Ma, very, very naughty. Ma, Maya More, अरे मैया मोरे, मैं नहीं मानता, मैं नहीं मानता, मैया मोरे, मैं नहीं मानता। Could you visualize that? He's sitting, he said, Maya, I did not steal any makhan. मैं नहीं makhan खायो. मैं नहीं. No, not me. I never stole any makhan. But Yashoda Maya looking at Krishna and his mouth is filled with makhan. अरे मैं नहीं makhan खायो. Such was the innocent pastimes of Krishna. So too he steals the chitta, the consciousness, the awareness of Krishna. He steals us away when we become aware of him. He steals us away from the physical pains of this world. When you let your life for Krishna, he becomes a chitta chura yashura kiva. Just as he stole the makhan, he steals away our consciousness. Boli se Vrindavan Bihari. Wonderful evening, and always a pleasure being here and being in the company of two wonderful souls. We will have the waving of the light for Aarti, and I invite you all to stand as we sing the Aarti of Bhagavan Krishna. We say, Lord, may you bless all our pitras, all our ancestors, as we chant your name. Bless all ancestors, bless all pitras, wherever they are. Give them your most heartiest blessings. This is your prayer. वसुदेव सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् देवकी परमानन्दम् कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। आरती कुंज विहारी की श्री गिरिधर कृष्ण मुरारी की आरती कुंज विहारी श्री गिरिधर कृष्ण मुरारी की गले में गंगी माला बतावे मुरली मधुर धारा श्रवण में कुंडल नलधारा नंद से नंद श्री आनंद कंद मोहन व्रज चंद्र राधिका रमण बिहारी गिरिधर आरती कुंज विहारी श्री गगन संहारे गांधी गारी राधिका चमन रे तारे लतामी तारे मन मारी ब्रह्म से कस्तूरी तिलक चंद्र से झलक ललित छवि श्याम प्यारी श्री गिरिधर आरती कुंज विहारी श्री गिरिधर कृष्ण मुरारी जहाँ से प्रभत वही गंगा कालुष कल धामी श्री गंगा स्मरण से मोह भंगा बसे शिव शीश जटा के नीच आले सबके चरण छवि श्री बनवारी श्री गिरिधर कृष्ण मुरारी आरती कुंज विहारी श्री गिरिधर कृष्ण मुरारी आरती कुंज विहारी श्री गिरिधर कृष्ण मुरारी गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय everybody जय राधा रमन हरि बोल, जय राधा रमन हरि बोल, 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 ह हरि बोल, जय जय राधा रमन हरि बोल, राधा जय राधा बोले राधा रमन हरि बोल, जय जय राधा जय जय राधा रमन हरि बोल, जय जय राधा रमन हरि बोल, जय जय राधा रमन हरि बोल, जय जय राधा रमन Let's clap our hands together. God bless you. Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om. Krishna 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 Krishna, Jai Radha Krishna, Krishna 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 Krishna, Jai Radha Krishna. Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om. Govinda Govinda Bhaju Radhe Govinda, Gopala Gopala Bhaju Krishna Mukunda. Govinda Govinda Bhaju Radhe Govinda, Gopala Gopala Bhaju Krishna Mukunda. Om Hari Om, Om Hari Om, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om. Do you recite this mantra on behalf of all our Pitras? Om Anadhari Dharo Deva Santa Chakra Ganadhara Akshaya Pundari Kakshaya Preta Moksha Pradu Bhava. Om Preta Atma Shanti, Preta Atma Shanti, Preta Atma Shanti. Om Shantakaram Bhujgashainam Padmanabham Suresham Vishwadharam Gaganasadrisham Meghavarnam Sivagam Lakshmikantam Kamalanelam Yogi Virjanagamyam Vande Vishnu Bhomaiharanam Sarvaloke Ekanatanam. Om Mantrahinam Kriyahinam Bhaktihinam Janandanam Yapujatam Maya Deva Paripurnam Tarastvame. Tvameva Mata Chabita Tvameva, Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva, Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. So those of you who are familiar with me, you know when we do Jai Jaikar, we do one exercise. We put all our hands up in the air, straight up. You know these days the bandits can do their hands up. Tonight the bandit tell them their hands up. When we say Jai, Jai means what? Victory. So when we call Bhagwan's name, we say, may you be victorious, may you fight all our battles for us, Prabhu, and bring victory to us. Gajananda Swami ki Jai. Umapati Mahadev ki Jai. Hey, whenever you say Jai, like what do you mean? Jai means victory, na? If you say Jai, how Bhagwan will feel or have faith in it? Huh? Dheeraj karo. Huh? Strength. Put all the strength in saying Jai. Umapati Mahadev ki Jai. Bhagye Bihari Lal ki Jai. Guru Ramananda Swami ki Jai. Satya Sanatan Dharma ki Jai. Hara Hara Mahadev. This is. Abhinash, speak.
Sit around everyone. Cordial welcome to each and everyone to our monthly satsang. Please be to Panditji. Thank you very much for this beautiful katha during this period. A little insight into the Garud Puran. I'm sure a lot of us didn't know about these stuff. To the musicians, thank you very much. To each and everyone who came out tonight, thank you very much. Wish you a safe journey home. Before leaving, we have Parsad and Mahabhojan. Please partake. Our next satsang will be on the 4th of November. We will be doing Lakshmi Puja and Vishnu Puja, as will be the month of Kartik as well as the weekend before Diwali. So satsang will start around 6, Puja will start around 4:30. All are cordially invited. As we usher in the Navaratri period as well too, we wish you all Devi Mata's blessings. Have a safe journey home. Thank you.